بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فليعلمن الله الذين صدقوا فليعلمن الله الذين صدقوا وليعلمن الكاذبين. أم حسب الذين يعملون السيئات أن يسبقونا ساء ما يحكمون. من كان يرجو لقاء الله فإن أجل الله لآت وهو السميع العليم. ومن جاهد فإنما يجاهد لنفسه إن الله لغني عن العالمين. والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لنكفرن عنهم سيئاتهم ولنجزينهم أحسن الذي كانوا يعملون. لنكفرن عنهم سيئاتهم ولنجزينهم أحسن الذي كانوا يعملون. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا وإن جاهداك لتشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما إلي مرجعكم إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لندخلنهم في الصالحين صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Ahsant akhi. Please, another salawat for that beautiful recitation. So on the fourth night of Ashura, I would like to highlight another verse from the Quran where he says, "Indeed, those who believe and do righteous deeds, the most merciful will place love for them in the hearts of others." Surah Maryam. Tonight, on the fourth night, we honor a woman whose sacrifice is often remembered in silence, al-Banin. When news reached her of the tragedy of Karbala, she didn't ask about her 4 sons. She asked, "Tell me about Hussein, son of Fatima." That single question speaks volumes. It tells us that true love for Ahlul Bayt means putting the Imam's cause even above personal loss. And to this day, we love her not just being for the mother of Abbas, but for being a servant of truth and a symbol of selfless, unwavering loyalty to the members of the Prophet's household. Now, please help me welcome Sheikh Shafeeq Huda for his English lecture and Majlis, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض، إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد. صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم وفرقانه المجيد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. صلوات الله محمد وعلى محمد. Respected sisters and brothers, my youngsters, my elders, Maulana Sayyid, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'azam Allahu ujurana wa ujurukum bi musabina bil Hussein alayhi salam. We continue to extend condolences to Imam Sahib al-Amr, to the Prophet's family, on these days marking and leading up to the Shahadat of Abu Abdullah. Our discussion yesterday had reached the point where we had been discussing how Shaitan refused the sajda of Adam, and the sajda of Adam, the refusal to do that sajda, was not just an action, and this is something I was trying to leave with yesterday, and I hope inshallah all of you absorbed it, that it was not just Adam refusing to do a sajda to Iblis refusing to do the sajda to Adam, but it was rather an act of disobedience to the Almighty Creator in itself. I left yesterday with a thought to put in front of you, saying that the order of Allah is sublime, the order of Allah is above everything. Everything else is an action. So what we do is the action. When we are surrendering before the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those actions can become circumvented, they can become changed, they can become one or another. So it's the order of Allah that is the Almighty, is the highest. And so when Iblis didn't do sajda to Adam, it was not just an issue of sajda, but it was a disobedience to the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is when we look at, for example, the events of Karbala, or we look at what had happened to the Holy Prophet, or you look at the stand that Muawiyah had taken against Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, you see a common denominator in all of those actions. They were not only harming or hurting Rasulullah or Amir al-Mu'mineen or Abu Abdullah al-Hussein or Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, but rather they were disobeying the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is where we're going to be, inshallah, moving forward from now. That sometimes the order of Allah is to do one thing, sometimes the order of Allah is to do another. If we look at some of the Orientalist writers today, the historians, the biographers, they present an interesting theory. And sadly, some of us, some of our academics, some of our youths who are intellectually or historically inclined about reading different opinions, fall in the same trap. They fall into the same trap. What is that concept? What is that writing? What are these Orientalists saying? They are saying something, and I'm summarizing, I'm summating their work. They are saying that you see Hassan al-Mujtaba, I mean, we say Imam Hassan, they will just say Hassan ibn Ali. We say Imam Hussein, they will just say Hussein ibn Ali. They say Imam Hassan or Hassan ibn Ali al-Mujtaba, he was very calm, he didn't want problems, he just wanted to lay down, keep everything cool, be chill about it, sign the peace treaty with Muawiyah, and basically avoid the battle. Hussein, on the other hand, this is their opinion or thoughts. Hussein, on the other hand, was a little bit, hot-blooded. He had that, the stamina. He wanted, he was itching for a fight, and basically that's what ended up happening in Karbala. He got massacred, and so there was the saying there that there is a very significant difference in opinion and outlook, and in the actions undertaken by Imam Mujtaba and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, what is our response to that? One of the things, and this will tie into what I was saying, that the order of Allah and the applicability is what we have to do for any era that we are in. And that applies to us today, living here in Ottawa, in this part of Ontario, in Canada, that what is required of us, what will Imam Sahib al-Amr Ajjallahu expect from us, that is what we have to do. That's how we have to act. Now, what are they saying? Why are they saying this? Well, they say it because the proof is in itself. The treaty was signed. They are neglecting a significant part of the treaty of Imam Hassan and the life of Imam Hassan. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba became Imam in which year of Hijrah? After the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen? 40 Hijrah, right? I told you this is going to be an examination hall. All of you are students, right? I'm not a professor, I'm just a student as well. But you know that Amir al-Mu'mineen was shaheed in 40 Hijri. Imam Hassan's imamat starts immediately after that. Imam Hassan was shaheed in 10 years later. 40 plus 10. I think our sisters are more awake and enthusiastic than the brothers are. If this keeps up, I'm going to make all the brothers stand up, do a little roundabout, and then sit down again, okay? If I don't get some... Salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, please. I have ways of keeping my students awake, by the way, and I'm not joking. I've actually done this in Kitchener and other places. I made everybody stand up because I thought they were falling asleep. Imam Hassan was shaheed in 50 Hijri, at which time Imam Hussein's imamat took over. So you had a 10-year period of Imam Hassan's imamat and then a 10-year period of Imam Hussein's imamat. All of you, mashallah, are youngsters. All of you are enthusiasts. You make the effort to come to the Hussein, to the masjid of Imam Ali, and to listen to the lectures. You might have taken a bus, you might have taken a bicycle, you might have walked, you might have taken a car, you might have had a ride with somebody. You made it here. Now I'm going to ask you something. Are you stronger now or 20 years from now? I told you I'm probably the oldest one in this majma, right? I wish I could go back 20, 30, 40 years when I had a lot more strength, when I didn't have the cane, when I had both my knees working. I was much better. I would have been, or I could have been. Obesity was still there, but a little better health, a little better feeling. So you're telling me that your health right now is better than it will be 20 years from now or 30 years from now. You're with me, right? So that means that if I wanted to be a bully, I will pick on none of you guys because you guys are tough. You guys are able to fight me back. If I want to be a bully, I'll pick on somebody either who's tiny, who's small, or somebody who's elderly who I can bully at that time. And so what I'm saying is that if you look at the life of Imam Hussein after 50 years of Hijrah, when he became the Imam, and then you look at the life of Imam Hassan when he became the Imam, and you see that Imam Hussein would have had much more stamina way back before. Imam Hassan would have had a 10-year Imamat, would have been stronger then. But the fact that he fought for 9 years and then signed the peace treaty in the last year of his Imamat, that's what's important to remember. And Imam Hussein for 10 years didn't fight anybody. Remember that. I mean, of course, he did tabligh. He did his, from 50 Hijri when Imam Hassan was Shaheed to 61 Hijri when he was Shaheed. That means his youth was before. If somebody was hot-blooded, if somebody was wanting a fight, they would have had the fight at that early time when they had more energy, when they had more strength. Not waiting till he was 60 years of age and then start a fight with Yazid, na'udhu billah. That means, and plus, another thing I wanted to point out. When it was Imam Ali's Khilafat, when the Khilafat of Amirul Mu'mineen was taking place, when he was in the 36th year of Hijrah, until his Shahadat in the 40th year of Hijrah, at that time, in those 4 years, the Imam had to fight in the battle of Siffin, Jamal and Nahrawan. Who were amongst the commanders of the army of the Imam? When there was a siege in 35 Hijrah on the house of Uthman ibn Affan, when the Egyptians had basically barricaded and would not even allowed food or water to get in. Do you know who was told by Imam Ali to go on the rooftop and go give food and water to Uthman? It was none other than Hassan and Hussein, who were endangering their lives, who were fighting mobs who wanted to kill anybody who was in their way to get to Uthman. The bravery of Hassan and Hussein was always there. But when it came to the imamat of Imam Mujtaba, the maslahat of Allah, or you can say the order of Allah, was to do a peace treaty with Muawiyah. And when it came to the imamat of Hussein alayhi salam, of Imam Abu Abdullah, at that time, because of the actions of Yazid, the Imam had to openly confront him and have no peace treaty whatsoever and have a direct battle with him on the plains of Karbala. So what I wanted to say to the respected sisters and brothers today was, had Imam Hassan been around in 61 Hijri, he would have fought against Yazid the same way Abu Abdullah did. Had Imam Hussein been there in 50 Hijri or in 44 Hijri, he would have had to sign the peace treaty with Muawiyah the way that Imam Hassan did. There would have been no difference in their action. Every Imam will act according to the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doesn't matter what the historians say, doesn't matter what the Orientalists say, doesn't matter what the Westerners say, they will follow and they will adhere to the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Every Imam will act according to what they need to do. Imam Sadiq had his way of doing tabligh. Imam Zainul Abidin had a different way of doing tabligh. Imam Zainul Abidin left behind Sahifa Sajjadiyah, Sahifa Kamila. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam started the Academy of Medina. Every Imam's responsibility is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Coming back to what I said yesterday, the order of Allah. Whatever is needed by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is what the Imam, who is the Hujjah of Allah. Remember when we were talking about Adam alayhi salam, we said that the order of Allah will always be fulfilled by the Hujjah of Allah, the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of times, people will question the order of Allah. People will not understand the hikmah, the wisdom in the order of Allah. Yesterday I mentioned an ayah of the Holy Quran in which when the angel said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Nahnu nusabbihu bihamdik," we are praising you, we are glorifying you. Why are you creating Adam? Why are you creating the human being? Allah's response was what? Inni a'lamu ahsan ma la ta'lamu. And it's not really an answer. How many of us youngsters, I'm putting myself in there as well now, have had to ask our mother or father, "Dad, why do I have to do this? Mom, why?" How many of us have done that, right? Show of hands. The rest of you didn't put your hands up. You're not telling me the truth, are you? We've done it, myself included. Got slapped for it too, but I've done it. Because the answer is always the same, or usually the same. I shouldn't say always. The answer is usually the same. "Baba, why do I have to do this?" "Because I'm the father." "Mom, why do I have to do this?" "I'm the mother. I gave you birth. I kept you for 9 months. Today you're challenging me. You're defying me. So we basically, a good kid will shut up and just do what they ask us to do, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you see, the reason is, Allah ta'ala has a reason, but doesn't have to explain the reason. Our parents maybe didn't have a reason, and that's why they didn't answer the question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes gives very challenging orders. You'll have a smile in today's discussion, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. Why? Because as we continue our discussion, there's going to be something that is going to be in that category that has been, I don't want to say questionable, because no hujjah of Allah, no good abd of Allah, no Abdullah will ever question, "Ya Allah, why this, why that?" We can question our parents, we can question our grandparents, because none of them are ma'soom, none of us are infallible, none of us know the ultimate secret to everything and anything. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above and beyond all that. When we continue our discussion, and I noticed that mashallah ziyarat waritha is there, so if you do want to follow along with what my topic will be, you can at least see the ziyarah that I'll be alluding to on every one of these nights, inshallah. The ayah, the ziyarah goes on to mention, "Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuhin Nabiyallah." Prophet Nuh is the prophet of God. Peace be upon you, O successor of Noah, the prophet of God. Prophet Noah had an interesting time. People believe or people think that he was 950 years old, but in actuality, his tabligh after the flood was 950 years. His actual lifespan was 2,500 years. Alfayno Hamsmiya. 2,500 years was his total lifespan. His tabligh was about 950 years. And it was a really interesting time. Sometimes mothers would come to Hazrat Nuh and would be crying, "Oh, my baby is sick, can you please pray for my baby?" And when they would write the age of the baby was 350 years old. So people lived for long ages in those days. And when that same Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was asked, "You've been around for 2,500 years, Ya Nuh, how was your time on the earth? How was your time in the world?" Prophet Nuh replies, "It feels like I've just come through one door and I'm leaving from the other door." That's how fast life goes. That's how fast life is. I've come through one door and I'm leaving through the other. 2,500 years. Imagine for a moment. Now he was doing tabligh, he was teaching people, people would throw rocks at him, he would be bleeding, he would try and remind them of La ilaha illallah, he'd be bleeding every night. Jibreel would come, take the stones out, wipe the blood. The next day he would go back and do tabligh again, remind the people of the oneness of Allah. All of a sudden, after many, many decades, centuries, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him an order. Nuh, build an ark, build a ship. A huge one, not just a small one, not just a little boat, not a canoe, not a paddle boat, a huge boat. Maybe 3 times the size of Masjid Imam Ali. Maybe more, I don't know. I don't remember the specs. I'm not an architect, so I didn't remember what measurements there were. Maybe some of the youngsters will have studied that and researched that. Allah Ta'ala tells him to build an ark. Think about it for a moment, my sisters, my brothers, many of your students. In the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, God Almighty, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, is telling Noah to build an ark. As it is Noah is being humiliated, as it is Noah is being disgraced, Noah alayhi salam is being, given all kinds of torments and tortures. And this is why the Quran says, Innahu kana abdan shakura. He is our thankful servant. That's what the Quran says for Prophet Nuh. Innahu kana abdan shakura. Thankful servant. Okay. Allah tells him to build an ark. No problem. We don't find anywhere in the hadith or in the Quranic ayat whereby Prophet Nuh would say, Ya Allah, in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the desert, where there's been no rainfall or very minimal rainfall, and you want me to build an ark? As it is, people are making fun of me. And when the ark was being built, they were making fun of him, even more fun of him. They were saying that, oh, you went from being a prophet to being a shipbuilder now to being, an architect and a builder. You're now in the construction business, huh? This is what you can imagine how embarrassing, humiliating that is. Okay, you know what? Allah tells him, fine. If I was there, na'udhu billah, if I was there, I would say, Ya Allah, okay, I'm ready to build the ark. How about giving me the materials? Give me the designs. Kun fayakun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, be, and it is. I look for the shortcut, right? In management, what do they teach you? In my management course in university, they said one thing. They said, give the toughest job to the laziest employee. Because he'll find the easiest and the fastest way to get this job done, right? So if I was told to build an ark, I'd say, Ya Allah, give me the stuff, I'll do whatever you want, just give me all the raw materials. Allah says, don't work like that, Brother Shafeeq. Doesn't work like that. Prophet Nuh had to plant the seeds, let the trees grow, chop down those trees, start, fitting them, sanding them to size, plant another bunch of trees, make sure they get water, make sure they get sunlight. This whole process of building the ark, what is in our minds? What was in my mind? I thought that Allah told him to build a ship, and in a few years it was built. 400 to 500 years approximately is my estimation. Minimum was the amount of time it took. Allahu Akbar. Plant the trees. Let the trees grow. Chop them down. And in the meantime, Prophet Nuh was still doing his tabligh. He was still reminding people of La ilaha illallah. The one thing I wanted to tell you in tonight's discussion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be giving anybody a free ride. He wants to see the effort from me and you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see effort. It could have been just as easy for him to give the kun fayakun, put all the wood there, put all the snags there, forget about all that. He could have just said kun fayakun and the ark is ready. Why 400, 500 years? The reason is that there's a lesson for us. The Quran is guiding us. The Quran is hudan lil muttaqeen, hudan lil nasi, wa bayyinati. It is a guidance for all of mankind. It's telling us Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see our efforts. Allah ta'ala wants to see effort from us. Alladhi khalaqal mawta wal hayat liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsant. He wants to see the best of deeds from you and me. That's why He created everything. That's why He created life and death. He wants to see ahsanu amala. You remember the story of Hazrat Maryam? Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam. Quran mentions it, 19th surah of the Holy Quran, right? Suratul Maryam, named after a lady. When I go to the universities and colleges, I ask them, I said, can you show me in the Bible any chapter named after a lady? Because I can show you in our Holy Quran, in our scripture, because you accuse us of mistreating our ladies. You accuse us of not treating our women fairly. The Quran has given a whole chapter in the name of a lady that is respected by everybody, Christians, Jews and Muslims. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Hazrat Maryam, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. What a difficulty she had. Allah Ta'ala sends an angel in the form of a man to give her news. There's a reason for it. There's a whole philosophy behind it. Allah could have sent an angel in the form of a lady. Allah Ta'ala could have sent a spirit just to guide, just to basically give her a voice and tell her, you're about to have a baby, you're about to have a child. Anyways, let's leave all that. I don't have the time. The clock is ticking really fast. Hazrat Maryam, after the childbirth, was phenomenally hungry, and even during the childbirth, very hungry. Those of you who are mothers, those of you in the community who have had a child, or those of you who have had or seen your wife or your mother having a child, you know how difficult it is. One foot is in the grave. That is why the ajr that a mother will receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is equivalent to a mujahid in the way of Allah who has been injured, who is ready to face death at every moment. That is the maqam of a mother. That is the status of a mother. Okay, this will be in another discussion, but I just wanted to say she was hungry, thirsty, everything. She was told that there's a tree outside, a date tree, a palm tree, a date tree. And she was told, Ya Maryam, oh Maryam, shake the tree, the dates will fall, then you can eat that and get the energy that you need. You know, dates are very high in energy. You know that. That is one of the reasons why we have been encouraged to break our fast with dates. Because it is energetic, it goes right into the body, and it gives us the strength that we need in those early moments. Hazrat Maryam was told to shake the tree and let the dates fall and then eat. Ya Allah, again my question arises. I'm just a simple student of Alif Bata. I'm just trying to understand some of the verses of the Quran. I am asking the Mufassirin to translate it. And I see that Allah Ta'ala tells Maryam, shake the tree, when the dates fall you can eat them. Ya Allah, you are the one who gave Maryam the baby. You are the one who made her hungry. You are the one who should give her the dates on a silver plate. Maryam, here, eat this. Again, effort has to come from us, sisters and brothers. The effort needs to be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see that. Prophet Nuh then builds the ark, efforts, puts in all the work, calls the people, pays them. Even some of them who used to make fun of him, some of those who used to throw stones at him, even they were hired. They were hired to make the boat, to participate. They didn't believe in him, they didn't agree with him, but hey, a job is a job, right? If I have to work for minimum wage, I might do it. Okay, a job is a job. So they were working even though they didn't agree with Prophet Nuh. When the ark was ready, when the whole ship was ready, Prophet Nuh gets all the animals one by one. Again. He had to go out, fetch the animals, bring them in, one male, one female, one male, one female. Islam always understands and believes and is very adamant that the next generation and mankind's only way of progress is marriage between a man and a woman, nothing else. Salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Anybody who tells you otherwise has distorted human nature. I can get in trouble for saying that, but okay. And so Hazrat Nuh brings all the animals. So he has to go out, bring all the animals in. And the reason why I'm going step by step in this is that we've all heard the story of Prophet Nuh. We've all heard the Quran recited. We've all known what had happened and all the about the flood and everything else. But did we go step by step to understand and fully grasp how did Prophet Nuh, from the time the order came to the time the ark was built, how much time had lapsed in between? This is what I wanted to bring about to you. The ark is built. The whole ship is ready. All the animals are now on. Whatever the animals of that time were. One male, one female. There are different levels on the ship. He had to make sure that the wolf and the sheep were not in the same level, right? Okay. So everything is ready. Then the time comes. This is the most critical part. To get the people on board. To get the people on board. He announces to them, again, in the desert, where there's minimal rain to begin with, he tells them there's going to be a flood. Imagine for a moment the yaqeen, the certainty that the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam had, that he was able to, with a very clear and straight face, tell them that I'm building an ark, there's going to be a flood, there's going to be a water storm here, a thunderstorm or water storm or whatever you want to call it. There's going to be a massive flood and the known world will be engulfed. Today, our own yaqeen and our own certainty is very questionable. Marhum Ayatollah Bahjat was once narrating in his dars, in his class, the story of two friends, two little boys, young boys who were talking. And one friend tells, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Yafzakum Allah bi-iznik, inshallah Shaykh. One more salawat upon Muhammad and ala Muhammad, please. Shaykh al-Arifin, Ayatollah Bahjat, is telling the story about two boys talking. One of the friends tells his other friend, he says, I'm so hungry. I'm very hungry. The other friend tells him, why didn't your mother give you any food? Don't you have any food from your mother? And he goes, no, I didn't get any food from my mother. He says, no problem, my mother will give you food. Come with me home after school. Ayatollah Bahjat is mentioning, he said, that boy had so much yaqeen that his mother will not only feed him but will feed his friend as well, because that is what he has been accustomed to. That is his yaqeen, his certainty, that if you don't have food, the mother will give you food, and if you don't have food, my mother will also give you food. He said, imagine that yaqeen that young boy had. If we had that same yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would have no problems in our minds and our hearts today. Salawat upon Muhammad and ala Muhammad. Many of these issues are because we are not sure. I'm worried about my job, I'm worried about my rizq, I'm worried about what will happen. The certainty, the yaqeen is lacking from my heart. I don't have yaqeen, I don't trust Allah. I'm more worried about how I will find another job and get a promotion to the job I have. I don't have trust in Allah. I'm talking about me, I'm not talking about any of you. Hazrat Nuh had that yaqeen. The ark is finished, the animals are all on board. He announces to everybody, whoever wants to be saved, come aboard. Allahu Akbar. Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet reminds us, مثل أهل بيتي, the example of my Ahlul Bayt, the example of my family is like the example of the ark of Noah. Whoever boarded on the ark was saved. Whoever left the ark was drowned. This was a spiritual drowning and a spiritual saving. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhi salam. Prophet Nuh's own son, his flesh and blood, says, I'm not coming. His wife says, no, already. Son says, I'm not coming. The one who was the son of this particular wife. And Prophet Nuh is trying to explain to him, trying to convince him. He says, no, I'll go on the mountain, I'll go here, I will go there. I will go to heights, and how will the storm affect me? I mean, these are people who had rarely seen rain. Once in a while there might have been a little bit of a rainfall. What will happen? I'll go on the mountain, I'll be there. Allahu Akbar. Prophet Nuh says, there is no saving from the adhab of Allah, from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The son says, no. Finally, Prophet Nuh then, remember what I said, إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Prophet Nuh was not just an ordinary person, he is one of the Ulul Azam prophets. He is one of the earliest major prophets sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So not just an ordinary prophet. Even amongst the prophets, he was at a high station. He then leaves his attention to the son and he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, هَذَا نَبْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي. Ya Allah, this is my son from my ahl. Immediately in the Quran Majid is narrating this. Our response comes, not just a response, a retort comes from Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. Oh no, فَلَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ, that this is your son. The blood relationship is there, we don't doubt that. But the ahl is something different. He is your son, but he is not your ahl. Because ahl means that they subscribe to your mentality and to your ideology. He is away from your ideology, so he's not your ahl, even though he may be your son. This is very important because fast forward centuries later, The reason why I reminded you of that was because a prophet at the station of Prophet Nuh, even if he says something that is not acceptable or palatable, even minutely by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will immediately retort that. So now, when 5 people had gone together under a blanket of kisah, and those 5 people were under there, and then one of them, the leader of them all, the head of them all, looks towards the heavens and says, Allahumma haulai ahl bayti wa khasati wa hammati. Oh Allah, this is my Ahlul Bayt. All the malaika were now silent. They were waiting. They remembered what happened to Nuh. If somebody is not properly supposed to be in there, if there's going to be a dilemma, if there's something that is incorrect in this situation, Allah Ta'ala will retort it. What does Allah Jalla Jalala do? He sends down an ayat, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلُ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. This is the maqam of Mustafa and Ali Mustafa, that Ahl Bayt is Ahl Bayt. Every one of them subscribes to the same ideology, the same status, the same station that Rasulullah was at, his Ahl were also. Allah Ta'ala will not tolerate anything that is incorrect, even minute, even small. Hazrat Nuh has no choice but to leave his son. And he then boards the 72 who were with him. A small handful, 72 we are told, were with Prophet Nuh. Men and women were also on board. One of the other lessons at the closing of this discussion today we see is that Islam does not differentiate or discriminate who can be saved, what gender they are. Islam has kept the door open for the saving of anybody, as long as they have that khulus and that yaqeen, the certainty and the iman on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the message in Karbala. The Imam made it known that I am taking every age group and I am taking both genders with me. Many people used to say to the Imam, why are you taking the ladies? Why are you taking your daughters? Why are you taking your sisters? The Imam's response was that the message for which I am going is going to be an all-inclusive message. The purpose with which I am going is going to include everybody. Tonight we are remembering one of those noble, blessed ladies of the Ahlul Bayt. Some say that she's not of the Ahlul Bayt, but because of the translation that I have used, there are certain people who may not be included in the list of Ma'asumeen, for example, but we know that they are still sinless, even though they are not in that list of Ma'asum. You've got the 14 Ma'asumeen for which there is no doubt, no shak, no any sort of raib. But then you've also got other personalities whose iman, whose caliber, whose character is impeccable. You've got the likes of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. You've got the likes of Ma'sumaikum, Fatima Ma'sumaikum, the sister of Imam Rada. You've got the likes of Zainab and Kulthum. Even though they're not included in the 14 Ma'sumeen, not one person can point an iota of doubt into their character. And one such lady was Fatima, commonly known as Ummul Baneen. The reason why she was called Ummul Baneen after her marriage to Amirul Mu'mineen was because she was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with 4 sons. She was blessed with 4 sons, all 4 of whom were shaheed on the plains of Karbala, Abu Fadl al-Abbas being the youngest of the 4. When she comes into the house of Amirul Mu'mineen, she comes into the house of Amirul Mu'mineen. Immediately she tells Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, I am not coming here as your mother. I am not coming here as your mother. I'm not here to replace anybody. I am coming into your household as your servant. And as her boys grew up, She also reminded them that don't ever consider Hassan and Hussein, Zainab and Kulthum as your siblings. You are their servant, they are your masters. And the entire life, the whole time that Abul Fadl Abbas was in the company of Abu Abdullah, he would never once say to the Imam, Anta akhi, you are my brother. He would say, I am your slave, I am your slave. Because that is what the mother had taught Imam Hazrat Abul Fadl Abbas and the other brothers. Jafar. This was the upbringing that she had done. It was not easy to lay down your life in Karbala. Our salams, our salutations on the upbringing that Baneen had done. It is narrated that after the events of Karbala, the people, when the caravan of Abu Abdullah returned to Medina, when Bashir went and announced that Hussein has been martyred, an elderly lady was coming towards the gate of Medina. She was coming towards Bab Medina, and with her was a young boy who was holding her hand. When Bashir announces that Qutil al-Hussein, Hussein has been martyred in Karbala, this young boy who is holding his grandmother's hand, he leaves the hand of his grandmother and he goes towards Bashir and he says, Bashir, you are lying, you are not telling the truth. Bashir says, what do you mean? He says, my uncle Hussein has not been killed, cannot be killed. He says, what are you saying? He has been martyred on the plains of Karbala. The young boy says, he could not have been martyred. My father was there with him. Who are you? Bashir says, who are you? He says, Ana Fadl ibn Abbas. I am the son of Abul Fadl Abbas. The lady is my grandmother, Baneen. She's asking Bashir, what did you announce? In the whole proceed, the only time she asked about Abul Fadl Abbas, her sons, was in asking them that how did Hussein get killed when my 4 sons were there? And Bashir says that they put up a valiant fight. And history will record till the end of time what Abul Fadl Abbas did on the plains of Karbala. Everybody came and gave salutations to Baneen. Everybody came and gave their condolences to Baneen. What does Baneen do? She doesn't accept anybody's condolences. She goes to the grave of Fatima Zahra. And she laments to Fatima Zahra, Ya bint Rasulullah, I give you condolences on the martyrdom of your Hussein on the plains of Karbala. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah accept our ibadat. May Allah strengthen our iman and our taqwa and our yaqeen. May Allah forgive our sins and our shortcomings. May Allah inshallah let us act on the teachings of the Quran Majid and the Ahlul Bayt. Oh Allah, protect our ulama, our maraja, the mujtahideen, the waliya faqih who are serving while the imam is in occupation. Grant them a long and healthy life and safety in the service of Islam and the Ahlul Bayt. Ya Allah, we ask you for the sake of this month of Muharram to return Imam al-Hujjah to us. Make us amongst the ashab and the ansar of the imam. Let us see zamana al-dhuhur with our own eyes. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. On Surah Fatiha preceded by a salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Bismillah.